He looked at me and said smilingly, "You haven't even been able to buy your own house till today." The whole room echoed with laughter. But he didn't know that I was going to reply to his laughter with a piece of paper. A paper which would destroy all his pride at that very moment. I just opened a file, and there was silence in the whole room. But the real shock came when he found out that the house he lives in. He is mine now. I still remember the message I got that morning. Family meeting at Uncle Robert's house. Everyone's expected to be there. It's important. I stared at my phone for a while. A family meeting. After so long. They only called when there was gossip to spread, or someone new to humiliate. And most of the time, that someone was me. I took a deep breath, smiled to myself, and typed a simple reply. I'll be there. What they didn't know was, I wasn't the same girl they used to mock. I had changed. And I was carrying a secret in my bag that could flip the whole table. The day of the meeting arrived. I wore my usual clothes, nothing flashy. No expensive purse, no designer heels. I wanted them to see what they always saw, the poor girl, the failure, the one who never made it. As I entered the living room, I could feel the eyes. Judging. Whispering. Comparing. "Amy, is that you?" Aunt Lisa fake smiled. "Still at that little office job, huh?" I just smiled. Something like that. They were already talking about promotions, big homes, investment properties. Boasting, bragging. Typical. Each one trying to sound more successful than the next. And I just sat in the corner, quietly sipping my tea, like the quiet loser they thought I was. But inside, my heart was beating calmly. Because I knew something no one else in that room did. As the discussion went on, someone finally brought up me. Uncle Ron laughed and said loudly, "Well, Amy's still struggling, right? I mean, she hasn't even bought a house yet." Everyone burst out laughing. One of the cousins added, "She still rents, right? In some apartment across town." Laughter again. They didn't even notice my silence. They didn't care how that felt. But I wasn't hurt. Because I had brought something with me. A simple brown envelope, inside my bag. And inside that envelope, was the truth. The truth they weren't ready for. The truth that would silence the room. As the laughter died down, I looked around the room. Each face carried that same expression, mockery mixed with pity. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. To them, I was still that struggling little girl who once borrowed money for college books. That girl who wore hand-me-downs, who skipped family trips, who stayed home while others built empires. I wanted to scream. But instead, I smiled. And slowly reached into my handbag. The envelope was still there, neatly sealed, warm from being held for so long. I held it gently, like it was a piece of my soul. "Actually," I said, loud enough for them to hear, "there's something I wanted to share with all of you." They turned to me, some mid-laugh, others mid-bite. Uncle Ron raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Something to share?" "Yes," I nodded calmly. "I've been waiting for the right time." I stood up and walked to the center of the room. My hands didn't shake. Not even a little. But I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. "This," I said, holding up the envelope, "is a property ownership document." The room stilled. You could hear the hum of the refrigerator. The ticking of the clock. Even the kids stopped playing in the next room. No one moved. I opened the envelope slowly and pulled out the papers, crisp, clean, official. At the top, in bold, title deed, property ownership transfer. Aunt Lisa frowned. "What is this about?" I took a breath. "It's about this building," I said. Someone laughed nervously. Wait, this building? As in Uncle Robert's apartment? I nodded. Yes. The entire building. All 10 units. The one you're all renting. They stared at me like I had spoken in a foreign language. Then someone said what they were all thinking. That's not possible. But I was ready. I bought this property 6 months ago through an investment group. I'm the majority owner now. The title is in my name. Robert sold it when he needed to clear some old debts, private deal, quiet transaction. No one was supposed to know, but I figured today was a good day to tell you. I laid the document on the coffee table. Silence. Utter. Crushing. Silence. Uncle Ron, who just moments ago mocked me, now looked like someone had ripped the floor out from under him. But you don't even have a house. I smiled. You were right. I don't. Because I didn't buy a house to live in. I bought a building. That pays me rent. From tenants like you. He went pale. Aunt Lisa opened her mouth, but no words came out. I pay your rent, she whispered. I nodded again. Yes. You, Cousin Mark, and even Robert. All of you. The room felt like a vacuum. All that fake laughter. Gone. All that pride. Melted. I could see the wheels turning in their heads, trying to make sense of it. Trying to understand how the girl they ignored, mocked, and dismissed, had flipped the entire game. But I wasn't finished. You remember those times, I said softly, when I asked for help. Just a little support, after college, when I was job hunting, or when my startup failed. No one said a word. I remember how you laughed at my clothes. How you compared me to your sons, to your daughters. Look at Amy, still trying. And all I did was stay quiet. Work hard. And invest every single dollar I could. Now I walked slowly around the room. My first paycheck. I didn't buy clothes. I bought stock. My bonus. I didn't throw a party. I funded a side hustle. Cousin Mark looked like he was about to faint. I paused, looked him in the eye. I built a portfolio while you laughed at my thrift store jackets. I stopped walking. Then said calmly. You see, I may not wear luxury. But I own the roof over your heads. And in that moment, no one dared laugh. Not because they feared me. But because they realized, they never even knew me. They had written a story for me, a tragedy. But I had rewritten the ending. And now. I held the pen. That night, as I walked out of the building, the cool breeze touched my face. My heart felt light. Not because I proved them wrong. But because I had finally let go of the weight of their judgments. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I had something better. Freedom. And that is priceless. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Hey Amy, it's Cousin Mark. Can we talk? I stared at the message. Mark? The same cousin who once said I was, just not cut out for success. The one who used to laugh when I brought homemade gifts to Christmas. Now he wanted to talk. I took a deep breath and replied. Sure. Coffee at 10. Let's see what he really wanted. He arrived 5 minutes early, nervous, hands fidgeting, eyes shifting around like he was being watched. Hey, he said with an awkward smile. You look different. I smiled. Confidence does that to people. He chuckled, but I could feel the tension under his skin. So, I leaned back. What's up? He looked down at his cup, then at me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, he began. For yesterday. For everything. The jokes, the judgment. We were all wrong about you. I waited. There was more. I could feel it. And? I said gently. He hesitated. It's just. I've been struggling lately. My business isn't doing so well. And when you said you were investing, it hit me. You're smart. You're doing something right. And I thought, maybe you could help me out. Just some advice. Maybe even, a little investment. Ah. There it was. I sipped my coffee slowly. It's funny, I said, how you all ignored me when I had nothing. And now that I have something, suddenly I'm smart and worth listening to. He looked down again, ashamed. I get it, I said. I really do. But you need to understand, this isn't about money. It's about respect. About seeing people for who they are, not just what they can offer you. He nodded slowly. You're right. I was a jerk. I looked at him for a long moment. I'll tell you what, I said. I'll help you. But not with money. His eyes widened. I'll give you something better, I said. Time. Guidance. If you're really willing to learn how I built what I built, I'll show you. No handouts, he asked. I shook my head. No. Just a hand, if you're ready to stand on your own. Later that week, something unexpected happened. Aunt Lisa, yes, the same aunt who once refused to sit next to me at dinner because I wore a budget dress, invited me to lunch. I almost laughed. But I said yes. I wanted to hear what she had to say. We sat at a quiet cafe. She was dressed, as usual, in pearls and pride. I'll be honest, she said. I was shocked. And embarrassed. You showed us something yesterday. Something we didn't want to see. I waited. I judged you, Amy. We all did. Because you didn't fit our definition of success. But clearly, you were building something real. I nodded, not with pride, but with grace. It's okay, I said. Sometimes, the best revenge is not anger, it's evolution. She looked at me curiously. So, what now? Now? I smiled. I live my life. On my terms. But even as I spoke those words, something in me stirred. I could feel eyes on me. Watching. Measuring. Someone in the family wasn't happy about this shift in power. And I had a feeling. They weren't done with me yet. After the apology parade started, I'll admit, I began to let my guard down a little. Mark started calling regularly for advice, Aunt Lisa invited me to a family charity gala, and even my older brother Ethan, who once told me I was just a glorified clerk, sent me a long text that simply said, "Proud of you. Let's catch up soon." It felt nice. But too nice. And deep down, I knew. Something wasn't right. A week later, I received an email from a well-known real estate developer. Subject, exciting investment opportunity, urgent. The offer was almost too perfect. A downtown building. Pre-approved zoning permits. Undervalued pricing. And best of all, it was introduced to me by Ethan. Trust me, he said. I have a friend inside the city who says this is a done deal. You'd double your investment in a year. It sounded golden. Too golden. Still, I played along. Send me the documents, I said. He did. And something jumped out instantly. The signatures looked fake. I forwarded the documents to my lawyer, Sasha. She called me within an hour. Amy, she said. This is a scam. Those permits are forged. If you sign, you could be liable for fraud. I froze. Ethan had set me up. I called him immediately. Why would you do this? Silence. Ethan, are you really that threatened by my success? He sighed. You think you're better than everyone now. Acting like some queen because you made a few smart investments. This isn't about being better, I snapped. This is about surviving. And thriving. Despite people like you who tried to break me. He muttered something under his breath. You always had to win. No, I said quietly. I just refused to lose. And I hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked into my apartment, the one I now owned, and sat by the window. The city lights blinked back at me like a challenge. They didn't scare me anymore. They made me feel alive. The next morning, I walked into my lawyer's office with a new idea. I want to buy the old family property, I said. Sasha raised an eyebrow. The house your family still lives in. I nodded. Yes. Quietly. Through a shell firm. They won't know I'm the buyer. She smirked. Amy, are you planning revenge? I shook my head. Not revenge. Just a reminder. 1 month later, the deal was done. The old family home, grand but poorly managed, was mine. Legally. Quietly. I waited until Christmas dinner. Everyone gathered. The same people who once whispered about my failures now clinked glasses and smiled at me like I was royalty. Halfway through dessert, Uncle Jim raised a toast. To new beginnings and stronger bonds. I stood. I have an announcement too, I said, pulling out a folded document from my clutch. I bought this house. Forks froze midair. You what? Aunt Lisa choked. Yes, I said calmly. A few weeks ago. Through a private deal. They stared at me, stunned. I'm not evicting anyone, I added. You can stay. Rent-free. As long as you remember one thing. I looked around the room. Never underestimate a woman who had nothing but never gave up. But as I turned to leave the room that night, I saw someone watching me with narrowed eyes. Mark. And in that look, I knew. He wasn't done with me yet. After the Christmas dinner bombshell, I thought the storm had passed. But Mark, he was different. Where the others had backed off, Mark got quiet. Too quiet. A few weeks later, I received a letter from a law firm. Notice of ownership dispute. According to the claim, the sale of the family house was fraudulent. Apparently, Mark had convinced my Uncle Jim, who had signed off the deal, that I had manipulated him into selling below market value. The letter threatened a court case. They wanted to reverse the sale. I took a deep breath and called Sasha. I was expecting this, she said calmly. Don't worry. We're prepared. But what does he want? I asked. It's not about the house, is it? No, she replied. It's about control. Mark is the last one standing. He needs to feel like he didn't lose. I stayed silent for a moment. Then it's time I showed him I've already won. The court hearing was public. Mark came dressed like a hero, flanked by a smug attorney and fake humility. He played the victim well. She manipulated an aging family member, his lawyer claimed. Took advantage of sentimentality. Used hidden companies to take control. I remained silent, calm, confident. When it was my turn, I stood up. Your Honor, I said. I did nothing in the shadows. The deal was clean. The documents were verified. The seller was of sound mind. And most importantly, I opened a folder and placed it on the table. These are emails and texts from Mark, sent to me before the sale, asking me to go in on the same purchase together. I declined. He's not challenging the legality, He's angry I didn't include him. Gasps filled the room. Mark's face turned red. I continued. Mark wasn't left out. He was just late. The judge ruled in my favor. Ownership confirmed. Case dismissed. But something even more unexpected happened that day. As I walked out of the courtroom, I saw someone waiting outside. My father. The man who once said, "You're smart, but not smart enough to succeed without marrying rich." He looked older. Smaller. He walked up to me slowly. "I was wrong about you," he said softly. "We all were." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. But then, I looked him in the eyes and replied. "No, Dad. You weren't wrong. I was the underdog. But you all forgot, underdogs don't quit. They build in silence. And one day, they roar. Today, I stand taller than I ever have. Not because I proved them wrong. But because I proved myself right. And when people ask me how I did it, I smile and say, I was once the girl they mocked at the family table. Now I own the table, the chairs, and the house they sit in. And I never had to scream to be heard. I just had to succeed.